We're going to start. This is Luis Macias from GRAINCHAIN, the future of agriculture and blockchain. We're going to get started in about now, I guess. Let's just do it. I'm going to let's get started early, get more time. It's to Luis. Okay. There you go, Luis.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. I'm going to let this go ahead and go in the background. I'm not going to go off of a PowerPoint presentation. I just kind of want to tell you guys the story of how we became and what we're about. I would say about 5 years ago, we were approached by a large commercial farmer who was having issues with his operation. The agriculture industry, while it is one of the largest industries in the world, it is not a very technical industry when you go down to the granular, small, medium-level farmer. Some of the larger farmers out there do have systems, but a lot of the systems were developed many years ago and weren't very adequate to today's technology. We were asked to investigate and look at what we could do to change how farmers are able to take seeds from the ground and put them onto the commodities market. Currently, the process that we were looking at was a 3 to 4 week process of a farmer actually going out and harvesting, getting his seed, putting it into a silo, and being able to sell it to brokers, buyers, and end users. By the time the process was completed, 3 to 4 weeks passed before the farmer was getting paid. So what we did is we went and we digitized the process. We made the process of getting that seed into the farm, into the silo, and out to the commodities market. And we digitized the hardware, we digitized the scales, the scientific reading instruments, and we brought the process down from about a month down to about a week. As we went forward, we got more and more into the process, and we decided to start building smart contracts between the buyers and the actual farmers. This is a process that we began 2 years ago and has been extremely successful in the ability of saying a buyer has a set of requirements, whether it's the amount of grain that they want to buy, the quality of the grain, or even the humidity, logistics, etc. So we started putting that into digital format and allowed the farmers to turn in their grain into the silos and immediately get a digital certificate that gave them a financial instrument that allowed them to really have assurance of what they had, and also come in with the buyer's needs of everything they wanted to purchase. So going through the process, we started going further and further. The farmers had issues with, one, getting paid, and two, the buyers had issues of getting their commodities directly onto the commodities market to settle futures, etc., in a timely manner. As time went on, we went ahead and we got a little more in depth in how this system could help the entire ecosystem. So we developed this system called SiloSys, and SiloSys, what it does is it integrates with the hardware. It integrates with the farmers, and it allowed the farmers to elevators to actually deploy the product and be able to take advantage of the entire ecosystem of selling the grain. Selling the grain properly into the market. About a year ago, we started working on developing our product and putting it onto the blockchain. And what we came up with was the individual farmer is able to grab this grain, and our actual Oracle system is able to create the smart contract between the farmer, the seller, and the individual elevator. As we move forward, about a year ago, we were contacted by the Mexican government in order to simplify their process of keeping track of their grain and their commodities. We have a severe problem, I think, in the third world nations, where farmers are trying to get their commodities inside and into the market. And with these problems come a farmer will go to a silo and turn in his grain. without the digitation, without the digital scales and the ability to put it into the system properly, they were getting a lot of their grain reduced, and a lot of their product was being taken from them because the scale system was not working properly. As we went ahead and applied the system, we allowed the actual state government to be able to see what was being brought into the silo, how much of this was being brought into the silo, and immediately communicated back up to the government. Going further, the ability for the farmer to get paid instantly was the next step that we wanted to do. So what we ended up doing, what the grain chain ecosystem consists of, is when a farmer has an actual piece of grain, he puts it up on the market. The buyer will log into our system and set up a smart contract with the farmer. He will put up all of his different parameters, all of his different conditions. As the farmer is coming into the silo, it allows the buyer to instantly pay the farmer for what comes into the silo. I'll give you an example. A farmer has 1 million pounds of corn. He goes ahead and puts it up on the market. The buyer purchases, agrees to the contract of the corn, puts in the 10 different parameters, 15 different parameters of the corn. As the farmer is turning in the grain into the silo, he is getting paid instantly in our grain pay token. When the actual grain pay token gets into the farmer's wallet, he's able to turn around and cash it into for his currency of choice. One of the big things that we were facing was, especially with our Mexican market, was a lot of these farmers end up using USD fiat as their currency of choice to buy their grain, to buy their fertilizer, to buy their seed, to pay for tractors. In the initial smart contract, the farmer is able to decide what type of currency that farmer would like to get paid in. He uses our token and goes to our exchange, cashes it in for the currency that he has chosen, and he's able to be paid within the second that he drops off the corn. 1 million pounds of corn isn't dropped off in one truck. It's dropped off in 10, 20, 30 trucks. So what this allows him to do is allows him to turn it in, and as he's turning it in, he gets paid. What it allows the buyer to know is that all of the requirements have been met with the contract, that the quality of the grain has been met, that the amount that has come in has been met, and that the logistics have been met. They have both a very, very safe environment. As the farmer goes through the season, not only does he know he's getting paid, not only is he getting paid instantly, but he also knows that his contract is being met at certain levels, and the notification systems within the system allow him to do his business properly. Let's say a farmer is not able to complete a contract and is not able to come in and turn in all of the 1 million pounds. The farmer, if it is a contract that the seller has set up to where it's the total yield of the farmer can close the contract, and the tokens that buyer had purchased goes back to the buyer. It allows a very, very safe environment. One of the biggest problems I've seen in the industry has been that farmers don't want to deal with new buyers because they're scared of not getting paid. They're scared of different scenarios, and a lot of them are honest issues. A lot of them are issues where the buyers come in, they want to go ahead and buy this, there's reporting issues, there's logistical issues, and the farmers take a really long time to get paid or end up having to rely on the government to get paid because something happens to the buyer. This system allows essentially a farmer to get a real market price on their grain. We've dealt with farmers who are in their later years in the farming industry and who do not like technology. And when we've presented them with the system, they have kind of a faith in the fact that they're willing to learn about technology because of the fact that they can get paid on time and they don't have to deal with the business side of the issues. One of the most beautiful things that GRAINCHAIN does offer is the ability to go into the system and also enter in not only the conditions of how they're purchased, but working on being able to settle futures contracts automatically. Now, one of the biggest benefits of that is a farmer is out there doing his business and not looking at how the commodities market is going. using GRAINCHAIN, they can integrate the ability to put in what their futures target prices are and execute an actual settlement through the system that will allow them to sell the product at an optimal price and not have to rely on a broker to be able to sell the product for them. Going even further, most of the farmers that we've spoken to on the system are even willing to sell their grain at a lower rate with the guarantee of knowing that they don't have to worry who their buyer is. They don't have to worry who the middleman is. Our buyers are willing to pay to set the contract up because they're willing to offer the farmers a guarantee of payment, which allows them a much larger audience in order to go ahead and go and buy the actual grain directly from the ground. And in this entire process, there's a middleman. There's a grain elevator that's always receiving these different types of commodities. They're usually having to be a intermediary loan company to the farmers because a lot of these farmers cannot go days without getting paid. So what this really does allow them to do is it allows them to get completely out of the banking business and make the money that they're supposed to make with the in and outs into the elevator industry. I mean, into the elevator, and it allows them to charge for storage and things of that sort. As the conversations have gone forward with the different farmers and the different players of the industry, they're so willing to go into new technologies. We've talked to seed companies, we've talked to fertilizer companies, we've talked to tractor companies who are willing to accept token for their product because they know the fact that if the farmer has a token that's being fiat-based, that has a smart contract, has an ability to send these tokens to them and speed up the time of payment, they're willing to do it. Now, one of the big factors is we have currently 17 elevators in Texas that are using our system. And we're working right now with the Mexican government to implement quite a few elevators in Mexico. With that comes international trade. And most of the farmers that we've spoken to in the region that we're working with buy a lot of their seed, a lot of their different products in the U.S. And the individual seed sellers and equipment sellers that we've spoken to say, how much better in a scenario would it be for a farmer to send us a token over international borders to purchase these items, register the entire sale, and have the movement of the fertilizer and stuff over international borders. Things don't change as far as legalities of importation, but now the actual vendors have guarantee of payment for their items. So we're looking at an entire ecosystem. We're looking at a farmer who is getting extreme benefit from the system by getting paid. But not only is he getting paid, he's able to truly be able to sell this item to anyone on the market. Not only is he able to sell it to anyone on the market, being on our blockchain and being absolutely auditable, they're able to instantly comply with the different USDA insurance regulation audit reports. They're able to instantly comply with the state audit reports that they're required. Going even a step further, they're able to concentrate on the business of farming while the system is taking all of the work away from the back office. I've sat with farmers who during harvest season are collecting checks and are trying to figure out a way to be able to get to a bank because they don't have time during farm season. I've sat with farmers who have to take out extensive credit lines to be able to pay for their operation because they know they're not going to get paid for 3 to 4 months. So they have to be able to pay for fuel, labor, and tractor maintenance during the season. I've talked to elevator companies, and there's a big example of one that is going to be listed on our blog, that an elevator went bankrupt in the middle of the farming season. And elevators are silos. These guys are holding all of the life's work of the farmers. And because they went bankrupt in the middle of the season, the farmers weren't able to get paid till the next season. They have all these loans outstanding, and the elevator really has all the control over their product. And then we've talked to buyers and brokers who their biggest moneymaker is being able to get this grain onto the commodities market. Now, when you really look at the scenario, a buyer or a broker cannot legally sell the commodity till they have paid for the product. During harvest season, you'll see these buyers buy from thousands of farmers at a time, and they have to process the paperwork. I sat last week with a buyer who had got fined about $140,000 last year for, and it's not malicious, but he sold corn before it was legally his because the market spiked and he needed to sell it. He said he was willing to take the pain of a fine in order to be able to make more money on the overall futures market. However, he plainly admitted, we can't continue operating this way because enough fines will get us in bigger trouble. What does this system do? It allows those buyers to instantly pay and have custody of that grain. Further than that, it allows the actual buyer to say, you know what, I'm not going to incur more logistics. I'm going to allow for the grain to move into drop ship the grain or into other markets without even touching it and taking our profit. So the entire ecosystem goes from A to Z. The GRAINCHAIN system is a patent pending auditable instant payment system for farmers that is going to be available to not only softwares like Silosys, which give you a turnkey product that allow a farmer, an elevator, and a buyer to instantly use the system, but we're also going to make available an API that will allow some of the big guys and also allow people who have their own software to be able to take advantage of the instant payment. We're going to release this overall system in a two-token economy. It'll go ahead and basically what we're going to do is we're going to have an internal token that allows the farmers, elevator buyers, and industry leaders to create contracts and trade this trade this token based off of contract execution on our internal system. We're also introducing the token for our token sale next month, which is a securities token, which will allow you to purchase this token and as an accredited investor, and allow you to hold and speculate and grow the value of the token over the period of ownership. We have spent the last 4 years creating this system that really changes the way these farmers, these buyers in this commodities market are going to go. And one of the biggest excitements that we do have is that not only is the system working, not only is it changing actual people in the agricultural industry's lives, but it is also moving forward at such a fast pace that you have different people in the industry who are approaching us who want to apply the full spectrum immediately into the system. So overall, I think we have a very viable product that is going to be changing a lot of the way that the agriculture works. I think that the product in the domestic U.S. Agricultural industry is going to be a very effective payment tool, a very effective operational tool. I think the product overseas, or even in Mexico, is going to be an essential product to not only battle corruption in the overall system, but it also allows the Mexican farmers and even the state to have an immense amount of transparency and ability to move their grain, get paid, and move it onto the market in a very, very efficient manner. Yes, sir.
So who is the arbiter to determine that the conditions have been met? So you said that if you have this contract, I'm gonna buy 1 million pounds of corn, and the guy only ships 20 trucks rather than 21 trucks. Who's arbitrary? Is it the grain elevators who are saying, well, the truck never arrived, or how?
Sure.
Is there an intermediary?
Sure. So the SiloSys system is the system that's built into the grain elevators. That has an integration into the hardware of the digital scale and into the scientific measuring devices. That goes ahead and communicates through our Oracle portal, which gives the information to our smart contract that says this is actually coming to the elevator. There isn't any manual ability to enter that information. So as the truck is coming into the elevator, it's measured, certified, and a digital certificate is given to the farmer. The farmer, there's a signature inserted from the actual scale and one from the scientific measuring device.
So it's not human-controlled scientific device? It's like scanning the corn and saying this is not rotten corn?
Correct. It is not. It is.
And you guys developed that?
We developed the interface.
You developed the interface, and then did you outsource the creation of the measuring device?
The measuring device is a commercial scientific measuring device.
Okay, cool.
Yes, sir. Back in the yes. So the farmer has the ability to settle futures options, but we're also working on the ability for the farmer to set up the put options and set up instant sales call options. The beauty of it is that our system is going to be reading the market as it is day to day. The farmer has the ability, and so does the actual broker that buys it that's using the GRAINCHAIN system, has the ability to execute a variety of different options that go directly with our brokerage company that we're interfaced with. So you can do a put, you can do a call, and you can settle an actual contract with the system. The beauty of it is that it already has chain of custody. So what a farmer is able to do and what a buyer is able to do is that they're able to immediately see what is in their actual ownership, and they're able to settle a contract instantly. But they're also able to go ahead and, a lot of the farmers that we work with put up 50% of their inventory to a futures contract, and then they play the market. So this is going to go ahead and read back when the correct time, while they're harvesting and what's in their inventory, that they can go ahead and complete a contract. Yes, sir. Okay.
You have very clear the business idea, but the most important in this kind of project is the blockchain development.
Yes.
So business idea is very clear.
Yes.
So who is going to support the blockchain deployment?
Okay. So our developers have a test net that is actually already working on our development site. They are developing. They have set up the ability to write the contract in. Right now it's an ERC 20. They're doing an ERC 20 smart contract on every one of the executions, and they go ahead, and what we're looking at is going towards the future, going towards where we're going to go is whether we're going to stay on an Ethereum-based ERC 20 smart contract, or we're going to go further and use a proprietary system while keeping it decentralized, in the sense that what they're looking at is having the ability to make each one of the actual users of our system a miner within our ecosystem. So, give you an example. There's 300 users that are living in our system. 2 users are entering into a contract. Those 2 users create the contract through our Oracle system, put all the different parameters. The remaining users go ahead and approve the actual transaction based off of the conditions that were set within our system. So we're looking at going further into that set. Right now, our alpha system is working on the ERC 20 contracts. Yes, sir.
When the grain is in the elevator and it's going to move to the downstream buyer,
Yes.
who is liable for whether or not that grain meets the spec whenever it gets to the downstream?
So the right even in today's current market, once it goes in the elevator and it is measured by the scientific measuring device, the buyer takes the responsibility of the grain. Now, if for some reason there's an issue with the quality, let's say they take a year to pick it up or something happens, especially in the United States, that's an insured process. So if the grain does not meet the criteria because of time period or something went back, there's an infestation, a hurricane came, that is insured. But the buyer immediately, once he receives the token, takes the custody of the grain. Yes, sir. We are actually using it in the cotton industry. We're using it in the, right now, it's being used with milo, corn, sunflower, cotton. We have a rock vendor who's using it. And we also, we've also done sesame and soy. Yes, in the back.
Yes. What's the future market expansion and what competition?
In our entire ecosystem, we haven't found somebody who's doing the entire ecosystem. So as far as competition, there are some people that are manually entering in data and trying to create contracts. We're creating an entire ecosystem from the ground, from the scales, all the way to the commodities market. Our immediate idea of expansion is going into completing the Texas market and the Mexico market, and we would really like to expand into the Midwest. That's kind of where we're going. Yes, sir.
What percentage of the overall volume transaction value would you attribute to corruption because of this way?
So in the U.S., there's a small bit of bad actors. There's a small percentage of people who are lying about what's in their elevators, who are using manual systems for that process, or who are trying to settle futures in a deceitful way. I don't see the U.S. market being a bad actor. I see the U.S. market being a facilitator of payment and the ability to do contracts with absolute trust with buyers and farmers. In Mexico, what we're seeing is a very large percentage. Almost everyone is affected through corruption. When a farmer goes into a silo and a portion of their crop is taken, and if they want to do business, that we're seeing every day. So it's two different markets, but we do see a large percentage of corruption in the third world countries.
So how do you manage the last question?
Yes.
If the chain only begins at the silo?
Because in the implementation that we're doing in Mexico, the digital scales and the scientific reading instrument is what's talking to the contract system. So they don't have, I mean, I'm not saying I'm eliminating fraud, but they don't have the ability to manually manipulate what weights are and what the quality of the grain is. Thank you guys very much. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Are you adding cryptocurrency as a payment method?
Yes. So our grain pay token is what is paying the farmers and what the buyers are purchasing to pay the farmers. Thank you very much.